This week we're talking a whole lot of truth, so grab your pumpkin spice latte and gather around. Welcome to another local market update with Rick Batista. Welcome to another weekly market update. Temperatures are dropping. It's getting harder to steal a catalytic converter in the crisp morning air these days. Oh, I get the scrap metal street activists. This week we're talking about what's really happening in the market and what we may expect in the months ahead. You know, with so many things going on with the economy right now, as well as in and around housing, I'm committed to bringing you both weekly and monthly market updates because once a month just doesn't cut it. And I've got to confess something. I do find myself scratching my head about this market once in a while, and I know what's going on. So if I'm confused here and there, I can only imagine how you must feel. My commitment is to help you understand what your options are and how to make sense of it all. Before we get started, I want to let you know that this video discusses both national and local data. The local data we'll share in just a bit is for Chicago proper, the 77 areas, and although we do service all of Chicagoland, including the Burbs, later in this video, we're only going to dive into the city's data. And away we go. Nationally, pending home sales decreased 7.1% month over month as of last measure, falling to the lowest level since April 2020, according to the National Association of Realtors, as rising borrowing costs and a scarcity of new listings continue to impact market activity. Pending sales declined in all four regions and were down 18.7% year over year, with the smallest monthly declines noted in the Northeast at 0.9% and right here in the Midwest at 7%. And if you recall, April 2020 was a weird time as we had just been told to stay in our homes for 2 weeks, and that turned into, well, why harp on the past, right? But seriously, folks, we're going to dive deeper into the housing market in this video. Now, before I continue, my attorneys told me I should preface this next segment with a trigger warning. So if you have issues dealing with the truth, please change the station, keep scrolling, or turn this video off now. I'll wait. Okay, so if you're still listening, you should be okay with hearing the truth when it comes to the housing market. So let's begin. Last week, I was listening to a very informative podcast from Keeping Current Matters, which is a resource for not only realtors, but homeowners, buyers, renters, aka people planning to be buyers one day, investors, and just about anyone who is interested in all things housing and or real estate. David Childers was interviewing Odeta Kushi, who is the Deputy Chief Economist at First American Financial Corporation, and she had some pretty fascinating information to share. Believe me, I get it. Economy, numbers, data, a total snooze fest, right? Well, guess what? If we don't know what's going on, we're never going to get ahead. And if you find yourself ahead without knowing why, you might want to enjoy the highs of that ride because chances are highs and good fortune aren't sustainable on pure luck. For this week's market update, I'm going to share with you some of the key takeaways from this conversation with Odeta Kushi. So let's get started. Odeta shows that we were in fact in a housing recession from May 2022 through November of last year. There was a pause as mortgage rates came down, builders started to build, and we had a little bit of seasonal pickup. We ended up having another housing recession this year. And please don't think that what ended up happening last and this year is unheard of, because we have seen this type of double dip recession happen in the past. And there's no doubt that today's housing market is currently very interest rate sensitive. However, we expect that if and when inflation continues to come down, likely resulting in interest rates stabilizing, the result should be an increase of activity, with both buyers and sellers feeling more confident versus jogging back and forth waiting for the other shoe to drop. The economy is looking for a soft landing to avoid a full-on recession. And according to the data, so far so good. One piece of that puzzle is by slowing the labor market through fewer job openings rather than more layoffs, and the labor market remains relatively healthy. There is certainly an imbalance in labor demand versus labor supply, which is keeping some upward pressure on wages, and there are certainly some pockets that are very interest rate sensitive. But as we take a bird's eye view, again, the labor market remains relatively healthy. So it would seem that the Fed is almost saying that things look good, but we may not be done with this just yet. It seems as though they want to see a sustained period before essentially being able to say with way more confidence, we think we have this fairly under control. Keep in mind that the Fed is very data dependent, so they are closely looking at every piece of data they can. Another thing to keep in mind is that we can only review data from what has happened. So things take some time, right? There's a bit of lag based on the information that is forming to be reviewed in the future to impact steps, measures, policies, etc. So it's likely that the Fed will keep rates at a high level for some time before they begin to cut. And a high level doesn't necessarily mean that rates are going to go up and away. It likely means that they may go up a smidge and or will take some time to come down from where they are now. And they may not come down as quickly as we'd like. Here's something we've covered in recent videos. There's a large gap between supply and demand. We have many boomers who are equity rich, but not moving because they don't want to enter into a mortgage at all, and or a mortgage with a higher rate, and or simply because there isn't much inventory to choose from. We also have millennials who are buying at a later stage in life, or saying a later age might be more accurate, than their predecessors, but still creating a massive generational wave that's hitting the market. One that is met by not enough inventory. And it's important to point out that the nuance is that there's certainly not enough inventory in the areas where many millennials want to live. Building more homes is a great way to meet these needs. Of course, builders have to face regulatory hurdles, and of course, what would America be without political pushback on progress? Let's get it together, people. There are those who are advocating for being able to build more attached single-family homes, resulting in more individual homes while utilizing one plot or parcel of land in the areas where people want to live, which may not be the most ideal solution, but it is a solution to turn renters into owners so more could begin building equity for their next move and possibly a bigger purchase on the line. And with regard to legislation, there's certainly been great intent to help first-time home buyers with all the programs and down payment assistance for those who qualify. PSA, if you need to get in touch with a lender to see if you qualify for down payment assistance, send me a note, and I'll get you in touch with some awesome folks who can help make your dream a reality. But what's the sense of having all these programs if there are no homes to purchase? And if there aren't enough homes to buy, what's happening? Home price appreciation is only going up. And with the demand side already very high, if you don't have enough homes to meet the demand, it's the perfect recipe for home price acceleration, making it even more difficult for everyone, but particularly for you renters out there who want to become homeowners. What we really need is a sustainable solution, and that is to build more homes to bring more balance to the supply and demand equation, which should allow a natural moderation of prices. Bottom line, the supply side is the one that needs much more of our attention right now. Affordability is at one of the lowest points in recorded history for several reasons. One, mortgage rates are higher than what we saw just a short time ago. Secondly, wages are up, but unable to keep pace with the rising costs of home price appreciations and higher mortgage rates. And for first-time home buyers, the reality is they do not have the equity from the sale of an existing home to put down on their next home. With that said, something we've covered in our recent social media posts, if you have the ability to work remotely, that might actually help you achieve homeownership these days. If you don't have to go into the office at all, or you can move to a more affordable area, even relocate altogether. If you have a hybrid work schedule, you can move a little further away from the office since you might only have to commute once or twice a week or even per month. What are the silver linings we're seeing? Wages are on the rise, perhaps not as quickly as over the last couple of years, but on the rise nonetheless. Home prices may be going up at a much more normal pace, something we see in more normal markets. The general consensus is that mortgage rates are coming down. When or how quickly is the biggest question on everyone's minds. And home builders are building more homes, which are desperately needed. Are they building as quickly as they'd like, or as quickly as buyers would like to see? No is the definite answer for the latter. A couple of side notes. In recent videos, we've talked about how although things may not be all rosy right now, we have a strong foundational housing market. Probably the strongest in quite some time, without a doubt, if not ever. Two key factors as to why that's the case. One, the great financial crisis of 2008 brought about some huge change within the mortgage industry. For my lender friends out there, it created quite a bit more paperwork, but with the nonsense that was happening at that time, from no-doc loans to the crazy arms, etc., we needed more regulation. A few bad apples spoil it for the rest of us, right? And when we see other people getting ahead, we tend to want to follow suit, so we don't feel left behind. Why should other people enjoy the finer things in life? Well, folks, sometimes keeping up with the Joneses creates more hassles for everyone. Anyway, more regulation in the mortgage industry is good for you homebuyers now, or those looking into homeownership down the line. There may be tighter restrictions, but at least it helps minimize the chances of households getting to a 30-year commitment they really can't afford. And helping set up households to succeed is better than the alternative, short sales, foreclosures, and all the financial struggles and painful emotions that come with those situations. Second thing, today's builders seem to be in much better shape than in previous times. And they're really coming out ahead nowadays. They found ways to make their balance sheets stronger, making their companies more attractive to investors, resulting in the ability to help buyers out with offering incentives, buying down rates for the life of the loan, etc. And having the rate brought down is a huge perk for buyers. It creates affordability where it may not have existed otherwise. It may help a buyer get into a larger home than originally expected based on their budget and or the amount they were pre-approved for. Where a buyer of an existing home may be looking at a rate of 7% or higher, a buyer of a new construction could be looking at closer to 5%. There was even mention of one big builder offering 4.5% rates. Keep this statistic in mind. Historically, 90% of the inventory of homes for sale was existing homes. Now, it's 70%. So, builders have gone from having 10% of the market share versus 30% today. And certainly, we can't ignore the fact that many existing homeowners aren't selling for the reasons we've already mentioned, but still a very interesting statistic to point out. I know it's easy to be a cynic. I'm guilty of it myself. But if we zoom out and take a look at everything and sift through the bureaucratic nonsense, we can see where some industries and bodies of government at the federal, state, and even more local levels are helping out the average household. We certainly have miles upon miles to go, thanks to the Great Divide in Washington, which trickles down into our communities and even families. But if we can demand that the bullshit in Washington cease to exist, maybe we'll be able to get our act together in our own communities, eventually helping make the country and even the global community a better place to live. And it all starts at home, folks. With the upcoming election, let's not allow ourselves to be so divided because we don't like what someone has to say. Please take the time to listen, understand, and talk. We don't have to agree, but we should be talking and having meaningful conversations because we were given 2 ears and 1 mouth so we can listen twice as much as we speak. Where was I? Yes. All these things are good things. Wages, home price appreciation, mortgage rates, new construction. All these things will be even better if everything comes together like a beautiful symphony. Will it be the best of times? Only time will tell. But better times do seem to be on the horizon. And as I've said, stability is good. Stability, steady growth. They may be boring to some, but vanilla can certainly be very satisfying. Moving right along, homeownership is the #1 wealth builder in this country. That is a fact. So for those who think today's buyers are suckers, talk to people who purchased decades ago at much higher rates, even those back in the 1980s who purchased when mortgage rates were over 17%. You know what? They were able to refinance. Ask them how much they were able to sell for years later. Or they still own the same home. How much equity are they sitting on today? And yes, we can talk about how homes cost way less back in the day. We can even talk about the differences in wages from yesteryear to today. But the reality is, it still took a while for people to save up for the down payment. There were still those on the fence as to whether they should keep renting or consider homeownership. People of today, our basic needs and desires are not that different from those of our grandparents or great-grandparents. Believe me, we haven't evolved that much. But as I've said before, renting isn't for everyone, owning isn't for everyone. First and foremost, it comes down to your lifestyle choice. Is never having to make a major home repair more valuable to you than building your equity? Or would you prefer to help pay your landlord's mortgage over time? You want to feel that pride of ownership? Not to say that you can't have a great deal of pride when renting, but statistics show that homeowners tend to get more involved within the communities, which usually results in pretty awesome neighborhoods. So even before you get into the numbers of it all, there are many factors to consider. Then you can look at what you can afford on paper, which helps you then look at what areas or neighborhoods you can afford to live in. Of course, taking into consideration the places or people you want to be close to. The reality is, it is so difficult to time the market, and it's so difficult to guess where the mortgage rates are headed. The market and the rates are just tied to so many moving pieces that we can only truly study once they've happened and once we've collected the data. The best time to sell is when you're ready and or when there's a need due to a life change. The best time to buy is when you can afford to purchase the home you want or a home that meets the needs of you and your household. It may not be your forever home, but it gets your foot into the door of homeownership, into building equity, into building generational wealth. Bottom line, when it comes to the needs of your household, all of the factors can be a far second. Relevant? Yes. But rates, inventory, etc., although they certainly may impact the journey of the transaction, they may not be the driving force behind why you're beginning that journey in the first place. Now, it's time to wake up! For the moment you've all been waiting for. This information and data is provided by the Chicago Association of Realtors, covering the week ending September 30th and is current as of October 9th. From fun facts, we go to quick facts, looking at year-over-year changes. New listings for detached single-family homes were down by 23.7% and attached down by 14.8%, attached being condos and townhomes. Under contract, we were up, well, there's even more than last week, up in the detached market by 32.7% and down in the attached by 13.5%. Homes for sale down in the detached market 26.6% and attached down by 28.1% year over year. Diving a little deeper into these numbers and unpacking them a bit more, we wrapped up the week of September 30th with 332 new listings into the single-family detached market, bringing us a 3-month average of 345. Played a lot of folks. Down by 22.7% year over year. Attached, we wrapped up the week with 473 new listings, bringing us a 3-month average of 504, down by 19.5% year over year. Under contract in the detached market, we wrapped up the week of September 30th with 207, bringing us a 3-month average of 173, up by 1.3% year over year. And the attached 205, 3-month average of 249, down by 6.3% year over year. And inventory of homes for sale, we wrapped up the week of September 30th with 2,345 detached single-family homes, 3-month average of 2,332, down by 24.1% year over year. And in the attached market, 3,562, 3,473 being the 3-month average, down by 31.2% year over year. So, what does all this information mean for you? Heck if I know. All depends what's going on in your life and your household. Let's start a conversation and see how we can help you make the most informed decisions. If you'd like copies of any reports or slides we shared with you today, feel free to reach out. You can call, text, or email. My contact info is below. And remember, love and money may come and go, but time is something we never get back. So I thank and appreciate you for sharing some of your time with me today. If you want to stay on top of the market with us, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And think of one person who you believe would benefit from this info, and be sure to share it with them. As always, take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll catch you next time.